Did you start it?
I accidentally hit the button.
Oh,
So
we were talking about Star Warsy things? I mean,
I didn't know I did that.
Hey, everybody.
when did
Welcome to
you-
another conversation on 1 John. We had kind of a rough start there, but today we are continuing our conversation. Greg is deciding if we're going to restart or not.
No, we're not. This
Okay.
is the week that isn't a real week.
Really? Again?
Oh, yeah.
No,
right
it's just like the week between Christmas and New Year's.
now. Every day's a Sunday.
It just feels like nothing works.
It's limbo.
Like you don't plan anything for this week.
Yeah.
You just like
When you do plan things, everyone's really late because they just sleep.
yeah.
I bet
it's crazy.
whoever's in charge of the economy, which I guess nobody is, but like this is an expensive week. Like the loss of productivity is massive.
Which is funny because the coffee shops have been pretty busy. Yesterday was busy.
Yeah, just Tuesday was the one day that.
Mhm.
But in the corporate, in the banking,
Yeah.
in the high rises of the world, that I'm assuming that whatever they do turns into money. They're not doing it this week. Nobody's selling anything. Nobody's like, all the like deals, contracts,
Yeah,
all that
it's
stuff
just
is on pause.
All the finance people are in getting the year-end stuff. That's it.
Yeah, and I think on the flip side of it, I think we've been trying to do it haven't we? I've been trying to do it to live this week a little bit slower.
Yeah.
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 In the series of not knowing what day of the week it is, because of the weekend before, going into Christmas was a little bit different. And then Sunday, with only doing an evening service, that felt
Super weird.
strange.
Yeah.
Man, driving, because I went somewhere. I don't know where I went Sunday morning, but I was like, nobody is out.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, I went down. I was telling Scott yesterday. Yeah, I went down to Uptown because we had an old barista use the coffee shop for an engagement party, and then I drove down there early the next day because I didn't want to make sure it wasn't a mess for the opener.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't see a single car parked on it or driving on it.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "What is happening?"
Yeah.
It was so weird.
Yeah, then Monday being strange that was Christmas, and then the remaining blur days. And so
I don't even know what today is. We're just here.
Yeah, I always feel that every day is Friday,
You're correct today.
and today is Friday. But it has felt, every day has a feel, and I have not had any of those feels all week.
That it's Friday?
No,
It doesn't feel like Friday. It didn't feel like
any of the
day.
it doesn't feel like a day. It's just
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, again, I've had family in and out of town and been able to spend some time with them, and hope other people get to do the same.
Mhm.
Yep. And so here we are. And then it's going to be a little bit thrown off again because Monday is New Year's Day. And
Yeah.
that'll
Just throws it off again.
Yeah. It's like the Minnesotan conversation about the weather. Like it's obligatory.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times I either said or heard, man, if all this rain was snow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is true, but man, that is a very Minnesotan conversation. It just, usually it's in October, not in December.
Yeah.
And
We're probably gonna make it into 2024 without any snow on the ground.
yeah, we'll make it.
you did. It's here.
What? I'm a week off apparently.
Yeah. But part of the obligatory conversations as well, this is not just Minnesota, but I'm sure the conversations about how this week, the week between Christmas and New Year's, is unusual. And people say every year, doesn't matter what day the holidays land on, they go, it just is strange that Christmas it's on a Monday. Well, but wait 4 years and people say, oh, just messes everything up that Christmas is on Wednesday.
No, there's one day that, maybe this is just me, but there's one day that if it's on that day, everything is correct. And it's Thursday. Because if it ends on Thursday, people take Thursday, Friday off, and then they have a weekend. But also, Thanksgiving's on Thursday.
Yeah.
Like, it just makes sense.
So Rich
I never know when things are. Every year I ask Kelsey, when's Thanksgiving? And she goes, it's always a Thursday.
Yeah, it's always.
That's a good. We should propose that to
Yes.
again whoever's in charge of economy and also the days of holidays.
Okay.
That think Christmas should be 4 Thursdays after
Yes.
Thanksgiving.
Just 4 Thursdays after, done. That's it. It's good. It would make everything feel better.
You should just start celebrating that then.
Ooh, this was the first year that the Ukrainian
Yes.
Christmas whatever celebrated on
Christmas Day.
Christmas Day as opposed to the 26th.
Interesting.
Yeah. You can move it. It's an option.
Next year, we're
Yeah.
doing Christmas on. Wait, let me check.
Oh, no. Today we are, as Rich is looking up Derver.
Something about love.
Yeah. What is love? I do think the concept of loving others is okay. Go ahead, say what your
That's stupid.
lands on the 25th.
No, it lands on the 26th.
Yep, you have to celebrate the day after.
All right,
You're committed now.
I'm doing it. 26th is Christmas Day. You all heard it here.
Yeah. Well, First John has a intense repetition of a couple of different things, and the end of the book here has really tight repeats over and over again. Is that focus on who Jesus is? He's the Messiah. He's the Savior. He truly is God. He truly is man. He for the forgiveness of our sins, and in response to that, live a righteous life. And then the oscillating back in living that righteous life is the way to do that. To be that is to love others. And if it was a quiz, I think this is a good way for me to process it. Is to think that, if there was a massive test in the education world, and the focus was just to know, definitions and terms. That memorization of that can be complicated. This is in turn is a very simple quiz or test. It can ask for different aspects of love. Who should you love? How should you love? And be able to answer those things. The problem is being able to answer those on the Scantron, which I don't think they do anymore.
They don't do Scantrons?
I don't think so.
They have to do Scantrons.
I think that's to 1988.
That's so much.
I think Scantrons are forever.
Really?
Do you think they have upgraded to where a teacher could scan your Scantron with a phone app now instead of putting it through that machine that they probably paid $120,000?
Yes, there's an entire room that makes loud noises as they swipes through the Scantron.
Pretty sure a Scantron and the ballot counting machine are the same thing.
Mm. Yep.
It's
And wow, this is a hard bit here.
It's apparently January. Starting in a couple days, the SAT will no longer use Scantrons.
Oh. Electronic version.
Rip.
It's coming. You can do your test on your phone. Anyway,
Also, I didn't do a lot of research. Don't at me.
Don't at me.
Well, so back to this is that love from the Scantron multiple choice, true, false, is very simple. But bringing it into the actions of what you do, I don't know if there's anything that would be, maybe everything is this complicated, but it's very easy-ish to get the concepts. It's super hard to actually play it out, live it out. And that's exactly where the heart of the author of First John is really trying to get us to dig deep into, is not just like, do you guys not understand? They would say, yeah, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But will you do it? Will you bring it to the complex places of your life and live it up? And his big declaration is that this is how you should love others. You should lay down your life like Jesus did. Go.
And go.
Mm-hmm.
Good luck.
Is that it? Are we done?
Well, unless we want to try to define what that means.
Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Oh, probably should.
Yeah.
Which,
Good luck.
no.
Well, I think the
Good.
easiest, application of that is to feel like you should physically die for people. It seems like a one-time, one-shot deal. But if it's not a one-shot deal, that's when it gets to be way, way more complex. What does it actually mean to lay down your life?
It is one shot.
The ultimate declaration of. But scaling it back, that.
But in any moment, it's the one. Like, you can try as hard as you want to plan to be a person that lays down their life for other people. But all you really have is whatever moment you're in now, a chance to do it right now.
Yeah. It also, I think that it's not finality in a physical sense, but if laying down your life is being selfless, it is selfless. Selflessness, at least in perception, doesn't feel sustainable. Like everything in our world says, be selfish in order to be able to continue on. And so it's the flip of that. It's like, I'm going to see and meet your need before my own. Well, that I can only do that for so long. It's like the world map or math.
Sure.
And it is sustainable in the miraculous, but also just the better to give than receive.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely know people who have gone off the deep end of like where they stop taking care of their own needs to try to meet other people's needs, and then long term they are no longer able to meet people's needs because they have nothing to give any longer. I don't know. I find it very complex. Like, I honestly think part of laying down your life for people is taking good care of yourself. I think like how do I be the best version? How do I serve my community best? Well, part of that is being the best version of me that I can be.
Yeah.
In a lot of different ways. And so there is this tension of like, how do you take care of self without going over the board to selfishness? And how do you care for others without going overboard and destroying your ability to actually help people?
Yep. We get little glimpses into it in the Gospels that Jesus is getting away for his own time. I think it is true that he was going away to pray, but also part of that was a moment of self-reflection, of processing, of being alone.
The moment when the disciples get to Jesus and he has a fire made and he's making breakfast and he's cooking fish and all that, like, I resonate with Jesus so much in that moment. It's like, I just want to be on the beach cooking breakfast. And like, yeah, that sounds recharging.
Yeah. And then a massive amount, it's the perspective that the Gospels being written by disciples is that a lot of the writing is of their moments together too. Sometimes it's the picture of them having focused or isolated conversation in the midst of crowds of people, but sometimes it was just them just alone with Jesus. And that's part of being healthy as well. And then also, I think, Greg, to your point on that, is that Jesus, so many of his selfless moments were like commuting moments. We were going from here to there, and this opportunity availed. This need came in front of us. And by far, my faith says that the Gospels don't tell every single moment. But in these moments, when we think about being selfless, it's being selfless and loving like Jesus did in the moment that is now, not necessarily the moment that was planned orchestrated.
Yeah.
And the way to do that is not just, it is knowing what love is, but it's building it as a habit, not necessarily having it as a knowledge-based thing.
Yeah, it's definitely something to be practiced. I don't know, like if you sit down and like if I told you right now, Scott, you need to
Love me.
love Rich better. Do it right now.
Yeah.
What?
I'm doing it.
Like,
Yeah.
like, what does that actually mean? Like,
Yeah.
you can't. I don't know. It's such a weird thing to think about.
Well, it's been the theme in First John is that to love is, it's not an emotion or a feeling, it is an action. And so it's not something you can just like strain. Do it more, do it harder. But rather it's it involves actually seeing. You can't love or meet a need or do something unless you see what is actually needed or wanted.
Yeah, awareness is usually the first step to love. And then, yeah.
I think that we're going to play a little bit with it on Sunday is the quiz. Are you smarter than a fifth grader quiz?
Yeah, I failed that.
Oh man. Yeah. And
I'm not smarter than a fifth grader.
I think the thing that is really like telling in that is that if you ask a bunch of questions that at some point in your life you probably had like focus on it. Like the premise of the game is that you in fifth grade year you took a lot of classes or your classes focused on these things, so they're fresh in your mind, and now they are not. And
Yeah.
And so if you don't have continual focus on something, it fades intensely, and even like the skill of being able to figure it out. Like there's only one math question that we're gonna do, and I can do it. I just don't want to. And
It hurts.
yeah, and I think that that's such a powerful parable to what it is to love like Jesus does, and that if it's something you focused on in the past or something you become, just let it fade. You just won't do it. You got to go back.
Yeah, try awareness. First step, try. Second step. Love is kind of a chicken and egg thing. Like,
yeah,
you sometimes you have to like do it when you don't feel it, and sometimes you do it because you feel it.
Yeah,
and there's some tension in that of like if I only showed my wife I loved her when I felt that whatever that is, that feeling like you first start dating or
Twitter patient.
Yeah.
Butterflies.
Yeah. If I only showed love to her or people when I had like whatever that feeling is, I probably wouldn't be very loving.
Yeah.
Right?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
That comes out of a lot of like, it's convenient to do it when, and every other time it's like out of just choice because of value. Commitment.
Yeah. I think we're going to bring the parable of the Good Samaritan into this conversation. I mean, it is exactly what you're talking about, is that if you're walking down the road and you see somebody in need on the side of the road, and you don't feel it, you're going to keep on going. The priest and the Levite walk by in the parable that Jesus shares. And the Samaritan, which is so intentional in this parable that Jesus shares, is because the person who would be least likely to stop would be a Samaritan.
From their perspective.
And not that Samaritans were bad people, they just assumed they were bad people because they treated them badly.
Yes.
And so here is a moment when somebody who they had treated badly in this parable stops.
Who they thought were less than.
Yeah. Stops and helps. Which again, that's beautiful in this picture because how do you selflessness, and it's not self-defaming, but it's a perspective of like this person's need is more important than mine. Less than.
Yeah.
And so he meets the need and goes to this extreme. And I think that if we see this as like, so who is the neighbor, the Samaritan? We get it. I get it. I can answer the Scantron questions. But if we don't take this as personal, if I would retell this parable, it's like the road from Jerusalem to Jericho has thousands of people in the ditch. The road is like, there's traffic jam. There's so many people going on the road, but there's everywhere you look, there's people in the ditch. Now, the way that you can read that parable and go, all right, well, where's the Samaritan to meet all of these needs? That would work for one or two people. It starts to really degrade quickly if one person has to do all of the selfless loving like Jesus. And so the call is that we all need to see who's on the side of the road. It's not a matter of like elevating the Samaritan. It's elevating the need for all of us to step up. And what a, again, broken perspective is that if I can feel myself doing it, it's like, wow, the Samaritan, that is such a beautiful, idealistic picture. Man, I can never do that. And I think it's an easy step. No?
No, it is. This is where my mind went. But I think there's like also a commitment to follow through for caring for people, because when you if you go, I'm gonna care for this person, and then you do the thing, but you go, okay, bye, and don't, like, there's no support. No, it doesn't make sense. And I just mean like in the Good Samaritan story.
Yep.
The foresight was broken person, like body broken, bandage, clean, take, and then go, hey, this is the next couple days.
Yep.
I want to make sure this person is cared for, and then he comes back and whatever. But it's just like, sometimes, I'm not saying don't help people, but sometimes it's like, oh, I'm gonna go help this person, and you do something and then go, okay, bye, and they're in a worse spot. It doesn't make sense. Like, just commit.
Yeah. Well, that's part of the.
I would say, don't you think if all the Samaritan did was go down there and bandage up a wound, aren't they still better?
Yes,
they are, but that's not like. Yes, that's why I said I'm not saying don't help people, but I just mean if you're gonna take someone to a spot, there's levels. Bandage a wound, great. Take someone to a hotel so they can rest and get better. Sure, unless they wake up and have to pay for it. Then it doesn't make sense because they don't have the money to do that. So whatever you're doing, you need to make sure you're like the follow through of care.
The genius of the parable is that bandaged, brought to the inn, says, here's some cash.
Mm-hmm.
I'll come back. So there's the degree of delegation and not having to do it all, that's powerful and complex. But then also taking part of the selflessness of it is like, you go, listen, I did what I could. I'm out. But to take it to this extreme of going, no, I'm gonna come back, and really, really quickly, I can feel it in me. Is like, listen, that's really cool, but I can't do it for everybody. And I think that Jesus would go, exactly. We need a roads crowded with Samaritans, not with the priests and Levites, proverbially. And so, like, again, for us to love, like the author of 1 John is calling us to, is not just hey, don't you want to go to heaven? But it's rather, the call is, this is God's plan. His covenant relationship with us is for us to be a blessing to all people in relationship with him. And if that is just a handful or the really good people, I always go in my mind and just go, listen, Gary and Noel can do it for everybody. And actually, as amazing as they are, they can't. They can for the people that are their neighbors, but I have to live that out for that calling to myself.
Yeah. I think you brought up the calling, be a blessing to all nation, the covenant, and that the wording, the practice, the reason that the Israelites set up their communities the way they did was because that the being a blessing to all nations was seen as the path to bringing heaven to earth, God's presence to earth.
Yep.
And so, in this moment, when the Samaritan meets a need for somebody who has a large need, that is bringing heaven to earth. That's God's presence at work.
Yeah.
And so, it can be overwhelming to say, how do I meet all of the needs I see around me? But it's less overwhelming when we say, how can I participate in bringing heaven to earth? How can I participate in seeing God's presence be realized in the moments that are around me, in the needs that I see?
Yeah. And that's actually being the answer to prayer, as opposed to saying, I will pray for you, to James 2, because, it's to just be walking down the road and going, be well, be healed, and keeping going. And I will pray for you, which is beautiful in some sense. But the calling, when we often in the corner church world say that word of being an answer to prayer, and that is not superseding or taking God's place. That's God's plan. And so when we don't love like Jesus loved, we're the broken part of God's plan. No responsibility.
That is a great ending to our podcast.
No, you should be the final.
No, I love that. That's good.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.